The Little Red Riding Hood, a menina do capuchinho vermelho. Once there was a girl who had a lovely red coat with a red hood. People call her Little Red Riding Hood. One day, her mother put some cakes in a basket and said, "Granny's ill," she said. "Why don't you go and see her?" "Okay, Mommy, I'm going to visit Granny." So Little Red Riding Hood set off with the cakes. And Mother said, "Stay on the paths and don't talk to strangers." "Okay, Mommy, I'll do that." But then Little Red Riding Hood reached the woods and saw some beautiful flowers. She wandered off the paths to pick some for her granny. She said, "I'm going to pick some flowers to give to my granny." As soon as she left the path, she met a wolf. And the wolf said, "Hello, little girl. What is in your basket?" And she said, "Cakes for grannies." "Hmm, where does your granny live?" Alf asked the wolf. Farther along the path," replied Little Red Riding Hood, "in a little cottage." While Little Red Riding Hood picked some flowers, the wolf hurried along the path. When Little Red Riding Hood arrived at the granny's cottage, she called out. She knocks the door. "Knock, knock, 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 knock. Granny, it's me. Open the door. Knock, 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 knock." And then she heard a voice from inside the house. Said, "Come on in. The door is open," said the granny. She was stuck up in the bed with the curtain closed. So when Little Red Riding Hood entered inside the house, everything was dark. The curtains were closed and the granny was laid on the bed. And then the Little Red Riding Hood asked to the granny, "Granny, what big ears do you have?" And the granny said, "All the better to hear you, my dear." Very strange. And then Little Red Riding Hood asked, "Granny, what big eyes do you have?" And the granny said, "All the better to see you, my dear." Very strange. And then she asked, "Granny, what big teeth you have?" And then the granny jumped out to the bed, and it wasn't Granny, it was the bad wolf. "All the better to eat you each," snarled Granny, leaping out of bed. "Oh!" Little Red Riding Hood starts running. "Help me, help me!" Little Red Riding Hood cried. It wasn't Granny at all. It was the big bad wolf, and he wanted to gobble her up. The terrible wolf chased her around and around the cottage. "Help, help!" Little Red Riding Hood shouted. And then, luckily, a woodcutter heard her calling and ran to see what all the noise was about. The woodcutter saw the wolf and raised his axe. The wolf took one look and jumped out to the window. "Go away, bad wolf, go away," said the woodcutter. "Thank you," said Little Riding Hood. "You saved my life." "You must never ever talk to wolves," said the woodcutter. What is that knocking? I'm hearing someone knocks on the door." "Oh, they go to open the door." Little Red Riding Hood rushed over to open the wardrobe. Where the knocking was coming from, she found Granny Safe and well, the wolf had shut her inside. Goodness, thank you, Granny said to the little Red Riding Hood and gave her a big hug. Little Red Riding Hood put the kettle on, and they all had cake and nice cup of cocoa. And Little Red Riding Hood never strays off the paths in the woods again, and never talks to the wolves again. And that's the end.